Hello students, welcome to week 2 for COM 550 Global Intercultural Communication. This week we are discussing culture and communication, and we're looking at concepts related to the two of those as we explore some concepts within intercultural communication theories. As we move through the course content this week, you will be reading chapters 3 and 4 from the course text, as well as going through the midterm instructions. The midterm obviously is not due until week 4, but it's important that you start looking at this early on because it's a multifaceted assignment that it should be completed over the next couple weeks. The next thing you'll do in the watch section is watch the 3 posted videos, including this lecture. They're all about theories related to the course reading this week. Critical review number 1 is due, as well as weekly review number 2. Weekly review number 2 is a discussion board, so it does require you to post that no later than Friday and to reply no later than Sunday. Critical review number 1. What you'll be doing on this assignment is you'll be selecting a research article, so a journal article that is about intercultural communication. You'll read that article and then you will look at the theory presented in the article and find 3 or 4 other additional sources about that theory and write a response. And within full APA format, that'll be at least 3 pages long. You'll make sure that your review includes the major concepts of the theory as it was found in the journal article, how it was used, how it was researched, and then you'll compare it to the other sources you found about that theory that was found in the original journal article. Then you'll analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the intercultural theory. You'll talk about its effectiveness in the particular article you chose, and you'll come up with your own reasoning about how it was utilized within the research read for the journal article chosen. The last thing you'll do is comment on how this theory, as well as anything else that you've read related to it, integrate to what you know about communication and communication theory, and then largely within the course content. So the third part, I'm looking for a reflection. I'm looking for you to reflect upon how it relates to intercultural communication in the large part and how this article may be useful to the course. This is due on Sunday, and you are required to write 3 full pages in APA format, include a cover page and a reference page that is not counted within the page count. Then you'll be working on weekly review number 2. This is a discussion board post that needs to be at least 500 words. You'll post it no later than Friday and reply to students, with 250 word responses by Sunday. What you'll do in this post is you're required to choose coordinated management of meaning theory or ethnography of communication and provide a comprehensive overview of the theory, in addition to describing how the theory is related to the practice of intercultural communication. You'll share at least 1 outside journal article. This can be the article you utilized in your critical review if you'd like to use that, and talk about how the theory is used and analyze how it may be useful to the practice of communication research as a whole. You will need to have at least 3 sources. Do not forget that your original post is due Friday and the replies are due no later than Sunday. At this point, it's important that we talk about the midterm. This assignment does require outside time, outside of just completing it and writing the paper, so you do want to get started on this early. The intercultural interaction essay is an assignment that requires you to have an intercultural interaction with somebody from a different culture. What you'll be doing is you need to read and spend time researching what that culture is, and then identify somebody that you can interact with them for about 3 to 4 hours. In a group that's in their own cultural setting. So you need to find somebody that has a different culture than you, maybe a different ethnicity or different family culture or different group culture, or something that's significantly different than the way that you were raised and how you live your life. You'll talk to them, you'll interview them, and then you'll observe them in their interactions. You'll spend time with them for a couple hours. The purpose of this assignment is to help you to learn about a different cultural system than your own, and as well as to apply some of the theories we've been reading about in the class. So for the midterm, you'll write a 5 to 7 page paper. You'll include a discussion about this. You'll include theories that you found being utilized in your cultural interactions with the person, and include any photos and things of that nature. In a nutshell, you will need to work on this early. That's why we're talking about this now. It's not due in this week at all. It's due in week 4. You still have 2 or 3 weeks to work on it. We just want to talk about it now at this point so you can spend time thinking about who you can get in touch with to examine them. If you don't know anybody that's in a different culture than you, or you feel that doesn't have a different ethnicity or things of that nature, get in touch with me. There are other things you can do. You can go to different churches and things of that nature that provide different religious, cultural experiences and things of that nature to get in touch with people that live in different lifestyles than you do. Particularly, we're looking at cultural differences and ethnicities and things of that nature. But get in touch with me with any questions early on so you can work on this early on. It's not something that you can necessarily do in week 4. We're going to provide a deeper perspective this week on coordinated management of meaning. We highlighted this in week 1, and it's important to talk about it a little more deeply because it's covered extensively within the course text this week. So as we learned last week, coordinated management meeting says that when somebody has a conversation, they construct their own social realities. Pierce and Conan believe that this happens naturally in everyday interactions. And really, as we construct these social realities, we typically assign meaning to those interactions. And so as we assign meaning to those realities, we typically store and recall them as needed as similar situations occur. What we're saying is Pearson Conan says, and this is what we learned last week, that when an interaction happens with somebody, usually in an interpersonal setting, we assign meaning to that social interaction. We create it to be a social reality. Once we do that, we store that cognitively so we can pull it out and know how to respond to that situation when it occurs again. To dive into this more deeply, it happens in one of 3 ways: through coordination, coherence, or mystery. Coordination is how we direct our attention to the ways actions come together to produce patterns in life. It helps us with recalling these social realities that we've assigned meaning to. Through coordination, we can start to predict patterns of when certain situations occur so we know how to respond to those conversations or in those communication experiences. So if you've been in a job interview before, the first time you've ever been in one, you haven't been in one, you don't know what to expect. Through coordination, the next time you're in an interview, you can develop a pattern of what to expect in the communicative experience of a job interview. Coherence directs our attention to the stories that we tell that make lives meaningful. So it really pays attention to the construction of meaning and how we construct meaning within our communicative experiences and conversations with people, and how we naturally look for the primary form of the story. That's why storytelling is so powerful in many different cultures. It helps put coherence to how we assign meaning to different communicative experiences or social realities. Mystery is held for the consideration of any social patterns that do not fit within coordination or coherence. It really tells us that we do know that life is mysterious, God works in mysterious ways, and that there are some social patterns that we just cannot predict or apply coherence to. Coordinated management of meaning is heavily influenced by culture and communicative interactions, as well as interpersonal communication. This week, we're looking to see how it applies to intercultural situations. Our coordination and coherence of how we apply meanings and produce patterns and start to understand the story within our social realities and communicative experiences can change as we deal with different cultures, or we have intercultural interactions with people in global settings, or even just in our national setting. So it's very important to keep that in mind. The next theory is ethnography of communication. It was developed by Himes in the 1960s, and the idea of this theory, or ethnography, really is to fully immerse yourself in the observation by becoming a participant in that culture. So ethnography of communication purposefully takes oneself out of their own native habitat, their culture, their life, and puts themselves in another one. Their observation is becoming part of that culture. So the goal of this theory is to study the communicative competence of specific speech community. Really what we're doing is we're analyzing the patterns of communication that organize the use of language and particular communicative activities by being an outsider. We're focusing on the structuring of various communicative behaviors and its rule of the conduct of social life by immersing ourselves within that social life. We're not just observing it by being an outsider, we become an insider and a participant within that lifestyle. The objective is to describe any communicative habit shared by the members of a community by being a member of the community. For example, there was a really good book I read on ethnography called The Mole People, where this researcher went and lived in the tunnels of New York City in the subways and immersed herself in that culture by becoming part of that culture to truly understand The central unit of analysis in this idea is to really understand their way and their lifestyle. So to do this and analyze the patterns of communication that happened to the mole people in New York City, she became a mole person and lived in the subway tunnels for a year to really understand the structuring of their communicative behaviors and the rules of social conduct and things of that, and the role that communication plays within that. So as we look into that, intercultural communication is ethnography of communication is a huge theory within intercultural communication. We take ourselves out of our own culture, our own natural habitat, and place ourselves in something unknown to truly understand what it's like to be a part of that culture and what it means to be accepted by them by going through the process ourselves. To recap, it's important to know that we are reading chapters 3 and 4 as well as the midterm instructions. We're watching 3 videos on the theories that are related to the course reading, and we're also completing critical review number 1 weekly, as well as weekly review number 2, which has 2 deadlines. If you have any questions about the midterm, please reach out now. I do have some ideas and ways to get you in touch with people if you're having a hard time determining who you're going to spend time with to have an intercultural experience with. I pray you all have a blessed week. God bless.